Hello everyone, this is Stacey Purcell of the Vet Recruiter. Thank you all for joining me today for the first installment in our Employment Insider webinar series. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to talk about today's topic, which is 5 pivotal secrets for taking your career to the next level. Now, I have spent more than 18 years as a recruiter in the animal health and veterinary field, and I've seen just about everything that can be seen in terms of employment. I've seen people do the absolute right things in terms of their careers, and I've seen them do the absolute wrong things. So what I want to do today is take this experience that I've gained over the years, boil it down, and present it in a way that will help you put it to good use for your own career. I call these things secrets because they are things that a lot of people do not think about or consider. And if they do, they don't think about them very often. So I'm going to dive right in with the first secret for taking your career to the next level, and that secret is be aware of your surroundings. Now, you may have heard this phrase before. It is usually when someone is emphasizing how important it is to be aware of your surroundings in a potentially dangerous place. You may not think about this phrase in relation to your career, but you should be aware of your surroundings in your current employment situation. That means that you should think about your job in terms of the following questions. What is the company culture like? What kind of relationship do I have with my boss? What kind of relationship do I have with my coworkers? What is my employer's mission statement? And does my employer have a vision for the future? If so, what is that vision and what is my role in their vision? When you ask these questions, what you're doing is assessing your current employment situation. And the fact of the matter is that you cannot take your career to the next level until you know what level you're on right now. In other words, you may have to figure out exactly where you are before you can decide where you want to go. When you figure out exactly where you are, there are 2 directions that you can pursue. Number 1, you can grow your career with your current employer, or number 2, you can grow your career by finding a better employment opportunity with another organization. Each year, millions of people choose one of these 2 paths. It doesn't matter which one you choose as long as the path that you choose is the right one for you. And that is why being around of your surroundings is so important. It helps you to identify which path is right for you so that you can choose it and do what is necessary to grow your career. And that brings us to the second secret, and that secret is find out your one thing. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie City Slickers, but in that movie, Jack Palance plays a character named Curly. In one scene from the movie, Curly challenges Billy Crystal's character Mitch to figure out his one thing. What Curly meant was the one thing that was most important to him. When it comes to your career, what is your one thing? What one thing is most important in determining what you ultimately want? Is it a greater challenge? Is it more opportunity for advancement? Is it the chance to acquire new skills? Is it more money or compensation, or is it to work for the best company in the industry? When you ask yourself these questions, what you're doing is performing an audit of your career. You're not only identifying which things are important to you, but you're also prioritizing them. Not everything is equally important, and you have to figure out what is most important to you. And here's why this exercise is crucial. When I was discussing the first secret, I mentioned that there are 2 paths that people can take. They can grow their career with their current employer, or they can grow it by finding a better employment opportunity. When you figure out what is most important to you about your career, then it becomes easier to identify which path you should choose. And that is because you've basically performed an audit of both your current employer and your career. You can decide if your current employer is able to give you the one thing that is most important to you now or possibly in the future, or if they're not. So you know where you are, you know what you want in your career and where you want to go, and you might already know which path you are going to choose. What is the next step? The next step brings us to the third secret, and that secret is always act with integrity. You might be thinking to yourself, Stacy, that is not really a secret. Of course, acting with integrity is something that you should do. Well, I can tell you from experience that I have seen countless people, literally hundreds of them, derail their career by not acting with integrity. I cannot stress the secret enough, and I call it a secret because obviously not everybody knows about it. If they did, I would not be witness to some of the things seen throughout the years. Once again, you must act with integrity regardless of which path you choose to grow your career, either with your current employer or by pursuing an opportunity with another organization. If you choose the first path, what does that mean in terms of acting with 100% integrity? Well, for starters, you should not do any of the following. Take credit for achievements that are not actually yours. Assign blame to somebody else for your shortcomings. Say and do unprofessional or harmful things to your coworkers. Misrepresent results to management. Or basically perpetuate any lie or deception that makes you look better at the expense of others. However, let's say that you've decided to choose the second path, which is finding and pursuing a better employment opportunity. If you choose this path, it means that you will become part of the interviewing and hiring process of another organization. Just like the first path, you must approach the hiring process with 100% integrity. And what does that mean? Well, it includes telling the absolute truth on your resume and not exaggerating, showing up for a face-to-face interview when you have said that you will be there, telling the absolute truth during the interview, telling the hiring manager that you are no longer interested in the position if that's the case, letting a hiring manager know if you've already accepted an offer from another organization, and showing up for work if you've accepted an offer of employment with another company or with that company. And once again, you might be thinking to yourself, well, of course I will do all of these things, but I can tell you from personal experience that many professionals have not done these things and their careers have paid the price. In fact, I have some specific examples I would like to share with you that illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. The first example was a colleague of mine, another recruiter, a number of years ago. He specialized in placing presidents of banks. And he placed a bank president who accepted an offer with his client's company, and he was supposed to show up at work at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. Well, 8 a.m. came and went, and so did 8:30, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And by noon, they were getting really anxious and wondering what was going on. They were worried that maybe he had gotten in a car accident or something. They called his wife. Well, they tried to get a hold of him. They couldn't, so they called his wife, and she answered the phone, and she said, well, didn't my husband tell you that he took a counteroffer and he decided to stay with the bank where he was at? And they said, no, as a matter of fact, he didn't tell us that he was staying. We were expecting him to show up this morning because he had accepted our offer. Well, 6 months ago, that recruiter's client purchased that bank and immediately fired the bank president. So as soon as they purchased the bank, he was fired. So, don't burn bridges. The second incident regarded a candidate that I personally worked with, and our client flew him out for an interview, and they were going to put him up in a hotel overnight. And when they got the expense report, he had actually charged my client for 2 nights of hotel. He had brought in his entire family, his wife and his children, for the interview, and he had charged his family's meals to my client. So my client was not impressed, and that candidate did not receive an offer. Another example was a candidate who took a trip to New York City, not because he wanted to take the job, but because he wanted his wife to see New York City because she had never been there. So he went for the interview, and my client rolled out the red carpet. The HR director took a gift basket of Bath & Body Works soaps and lotions to the hotel. They picked him up and took him to a Broadway play, took him out to a nice dinner. When he went back home, his airplane landed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 6 o'clock that night in his hometown, he and his wife went out to a 5-star dinner, steakhouse, got a bottle of wine. The meal was over $100, and they put that on the expense report. So he was already back home. He wasn't even in New York City any longer, and he charged my client for an expensive dinner back in his hometown. So he did not receive an offer either, but he later admitted to me that the only reason he went was because he wanted to take his wife to see New York City. So the industry that we work in is a very small industry, and as a result, when things like this happen, it can produce some negative outcomes. It can come back to bite you and have an adverse effect on your career. There's always a chance that your behavior will play a role in what happens to you in the future. And just ask the bank president from my first example. However, when you always act with integrity, you never lose, no matter what happens. So if you're always acting with 100% integrity, what is the next step that will help you take your career to the next level? Our fourth secret is you must take risks in order to enjoy rewards. This is the mindset that is necessary to truly climb the ladder within the industry. And of course, there are varying degrees of risk, and people are different. Some people enjoy taking risks, and other people do not enjoy taking risks. In fact, some people thrive on taking them, and some people avoid them like the plague. However, there is no getting around the fact that you cannot grow your career and take it to the next level without taking some sort of risk. What are some examples of the risks that I'm talking about? Well, here are a few. Talking with your boss about what is making you unhappy in your current job situation. Talking with your boss about a promotion and other career growth opportunities. Making the decision to leave your current employer. Accepting a job with another company that involves more responsibility than what you have right now. Moving to another part of the country for a better opportunity. Or moving to another country for a better opportunity. As you can see, there are risks involved in whichever path you choose, your current employer or a new employer. If you believe that it is easy to grow your career by staying where you are, that is simply not the case. You'll still have to take risks to get where you want to go. They'll just be different risks than if you decided to pursue a job with another organization. I have seen people take risks and be rewarded for taking those risks, and I have also seen people not take risks and be penalized for not taking those risks. Examples of this are candidates who told me they wanted to take a step in their career, but they were only willing to, work in one location, like Topeka, Kansas, for example. Consider this fact. People who change jobs every 3 to 5 years earn more in compensation and benefits than people who stay at the same employer for 10 to 15 years. Why is that? Because employers must entice professionals that they want to hire with more money, compensation, and other benefits. As a result, those people are rewarded for taking a risk, leaving their current employer, and going to work for another organization. Another example is a sales rep that I was in contact with who had been at the same employer for 17 years, and she told me that she was one of the highest paid sales reps in the company, when in fact, after interviewing her, I found out that she was actually one of the lowest paid sales reps in her company, and she didn't even know it. And why is that? Because her company had to pay some of the newcomers more money to get them to leave their former organization and join their company. One fifth and final secret is don't let fear rule the decisions that you make about your career. The reason this is so important is because fear is the one thing that is responsible for holding people back from what they want the most. And this secret goes hand in hand with the fourth one, and that is because the main reason people don't take the risks that are necessary to enjoy big rewards is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of not meeting expectations, fear of making the wrong decision, and fear of stepping out of their comfort zone. There's an acronym that I believe spells out perfectly what fear really is in most situations, especially in those situations that pertain to a person's professional life and career. And that acronym is false evidence appearing real. Of course, to some degree, fear of change and fear of the unknown or natural emotions. But many times in the professional world, people experience the emotions without an actual reason to experience them. What they fear is the anticipation of an event and not the event itself. I have an example from our childhood. When you were a child, getting a shot may have been a frightening experience for you. If so, you will probably remember the drive to the doctor's office and the questions that were running through your mind at the time. How big would the needle be? How many shots would you be getting? Would the doctor be mean? How much would the shot hurt? Then, of course, once you reach the doctor's office and you received your shot, you discovered that thinking about the shot was worse than actually getting it. And once again, the anticipation of the event was actually scarier than the event itself. It's the same with your career. People experience fear within their job and about their career because of the anticipation of the event, which usually signifies some sort of change. Some examples of situations that people fear, or more accurately, that they fear the anticipation of, include talking with their boss about a raise, undergoing additional training and obtaining new certifications, talking with their boss about a promotion, taking on new responsibilities and or managing others, or deciding to accept a new position within another organization. Like getting a shot, when you're anticipating one of these situations, all sorts of questions race through your mind. What if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I struggle? What if my current boss freaks out when I submit my resignation? Also, like getting a shot, these fears are unfounded. You'll find that thinking about a change is worse than actually making that change or taking that next step in your career. And I can say without a doubt that fear is the one thing that holds people back from going after the things that they most want in their careers. Remember secret number 2, the one thing? Well, I have seen people not go after their one thing because they allowed fear to rule their decisions. Quite simply, if you let fear rule your decisions, you will not reach your full potential as a professional in this industry. It just won't happen. Taking risks and making decisions take a certain amount of courage. Everybody experiences fear from time to time, and courage is not the lack of fear, but the ability to overcome fear and still go after what you want the most. And remember, risks and fear exist no matter which path you choose to grow your career. It could be with your current employer, or it could be with a new organization. If you don't take risks and overcome fear caused by the anticipation of change, then your career will remain stagnant and you won't achieve the things that are important to you, especially the one thing that is most important. So to recap, here are 5 secrets that we have talked about today. Be aware of your surroundings. Find out your one thing. Always act with integrity. Take risks in order to enjoy rewards. And don't let fear rule your decisions. I can say with 100% certainty that if you take these 5 secrets to heart and you follow them, then you will be in an excellent position to take your career to the next level. And please remember, this is the result of more than 18 years of experience, and I have worked with literally thousands of professionals during that time. I know what has worked and what has not worked, and these are the things that work, and they can work for you. If you have questions about how you can take the next step in your career, you can contact me in the following ways. My email address is here, and is my phone number, and then our website, thevetrecruiter.com, and you can go and sign up on our website for our monthly newsletter. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you'll join us again for the next webinar in our series. Thanks again, and have a great day.